want to speak. Del?
Wayne Anderson, Terrell Road. Tom, you read you quoted the Connecticut State Constitution on freedom of speech?
Correct.
Correct. I was in Boston over the weekend. Bill of Rights, Amendment 1, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of a religion, prohibiting the free speech thereof, abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people to assemble, petition government. I don't see the difference between this and our Connecticut freedom of speech. I don't see what makes the Connecticut Constitution freedom of speech amendment any more protective of freedom of speech. I don't know what the difference is, but that's that. Not only is what Mr. Snyder was saying about government, legislature, and law, we have three branches of government. Everybody knows that. There are some laws that you would have great difficulty to find them anywhere in any constitution. I will say two words. Well, one letter. Roe v. Wade. Where in any of the Constitution is the right to have an abortion listed? And yet it is the law of the land. Why? Because the courts, starting way down here, working up to the Supreme Court, decided that that was in the Constitution. Settled law until we get enough people to change it. But settled law right now, Roe versus Wade. Larry, you were nudging on it at the last meeting, but you missed the point. Last year, I wrote on Patch that there is Connecticut settled law on the right of a municipality to regulate the size of a sign. It is constitutional in Connecticut. And it's at Kroll versus Spear, the Groton Long Point Association, which is a municipality, the same as any other town in Connecticut, where a woman had a sign, it was a 4x5, 2 deer. Who asked the deer? She leaned it up against her garage. And the enforcement official told her to take it down. She moved it around her property, ended back up against the garage. Her defense was it was a mural. It actually got to the point where the judge brought out the dictionary and said, mural, it's got to be painted on there. Now, you can say that there's local zoning, which was 1 foot square signs, was, might have been a little too restrictive, but this lady took it to court. Superior Court said, you are in violation, you're wrong. She took it to the appeals court. The appeals court said, there was no error. You were in violation of the municipality's zoning law restricting the size. Not because of the deer, not because of what it said, strictly the size of the sign. Didn't give up there. She appealed it to the Connecticut Supreme Court, who reviewed that ruling and the Superior Court ruling and said, we're not even going to consider this. That's in 2000. That's the only case law in Connecticut at the moment for zoning commissions, towns regulating size of political sign. Now, when something like this comes up, Size of a political sign, is that freedom of speech? What does the court do? The court, of course, looks at the Constitution. Both the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Connecticut. And it also looks at other court cases across the country of a similar nature and how they were settled. What is settled law? They take all of that into consideration when deciding that case. And it's enumerated in the decision. They also consider, if you're reducing the size of a sign, are you reducing a person's freedom of speech? Well, is this the only way that person can get his message out, or her message out, was to paint or make a sign with a deer? What about letters to the editor? What about putting up posters? What about, patch? Now we have patch. There are other means of a person expressing his or her viewpoints, political or otherwise, that do not, may not be affected if you reduce the size of the sign. Even speaking at public meetings like this is another part of expressing a viewpoint. The fact of the matter is, as Mr. Snyder said, not everything can be considered very neatly in lines in the Constitution. It couldn't do it. The Founding Fathers couldn't do it, and when they had the Connecticut Constitution, even after all that experience, they couldn't do it there either. So, when one says blue, the other says purple, they take it to a court, and the court says what it is. And that's what happened with Kroll versus Steer. That is what you have in front of you. You have the authority. It's called settled case law. Thank you.
Thank you. Adele.
I just had